Hello and welcome back to Wireman's Whimsy. Today we were making this card. I cased it from Stamping with Alice, and I believe she did her card in Blushing Bride. I have done mine in the Petal Pink. So let's go ahead and get started with big thanks to Stamping with Alice for the inspiration. I have done this as a side opening landscape card because the front is quite heavy with the gold foil paper and the greeting in that. So to do a side opening landscape card, you cut your cardstock, you leave it at the 11 inches and you cut it at 4 1/4 and then score it at 5 1/2 so that it folds over into a landscape side opening card. If we did this as a tent fold card, it might end up just sagging open. So let's get started with the elements in this card. I have used the Everyday Label Punch to do the greeting. I've used the Sprig Punch to do the little gold foil sprigs, and I've put them on adhesive backing so it's easy to put them down. We've got a piece of the gold ribbon, and we've got Crumb Cake, Pear Pizzazz, and the Petal Pink to do the front. I used a mask to do this, and I'll show you how that works. I'm just going to put everything off to the side so that I can actually work with the card. And let's get started with that. Okay, so for the card, again, that side opening landscape card, 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2, gives you your card base. And then I need 2 pieces 5 1/4 by 4, one for the outside, one for the inside. So let's get started with doing the inside. And this would be great in like the polished pink with soft succulent. Like there are so many different color combos you could do with this card. So to do the, to do the inside piece, I'm just going to stamp down with my floral piece from the Tasteful Touches. I didn't go through that. I'm using the Tasteful Touches stamp set with the Peaceful Moments greeting. So apologies for not running that right off the giddy up. So that is the flower stamped down. And then to make the mask, all I did was I took a thin piece like my grid paper and stamped the image down and then cut it out. And what it does is if I wanted to come in with my stems, they would stamp right over top. So instead, I've got this mask, and I put the mask over top of what I've already stamped. And what it does is it literally masks off the stamp. So it appears that this stamp is now, the flower or the leaves are now coming out behind the flower. The flower is actually in front of the leaves. So we're just going to pop this down a couple more times, and I'm going to do one more down at the bottom here so it looks like it's in a really deep bush. So we're just going to do that like that, and there we go. So what you've got is a flower standing out from all of the greenery behind it. We can go ahead and attach this to the inside of the card. And then we can build the front of the card. And we build the front of the card the same way, really. We only have to mask one thing, and that's one of the flowers so that we can put another one behind it. I'm just lining that up and dropping it down. And that's a really pretty inside to the card. I don't often do the inside of the cards, but this one really looked like it was perfect for it. So to do the front of the card, we're going to come back in with our Petal Pink, and we're going to stamp one flower kind of at the top like this, and we're going to stamp this flower down here like this. But to stamp this flower off to the side, we're going to use our mask. We're going to pop that down like that, and I tend to leave just a little bit of a shadow of the stamp image in behind because there's always going to be that little laggy bit. There's always going to be a bit of a gap because of the edge of the paper. So I push the mask in just a little bit so that I end up with good coverage without that. You can see there's no kind of shadow here, but it also doesn't look like the stamp has been stamped over. So just that little tiny bit, just so you can see a hint of the ink underneath, and that will stop that gap kind of appearing. So now with the leaves, we don't need to mask because we are actually going to be covering up the middle with the greeting. So if we go over top of the flowers, it's not a really big deal. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to put that one there like that. And again, this piece will be covered up as well. And then I'm going to come in like this. And I'm just going to close this up. I've already stamped the greeting in, excuse me, the Pear Pizzazz. So, sorry, my voice is bad this morning. Okay, so those go off to the side. This stays here. And I am going to need the mask just to do some of the little square pieces in the background. And I'm using crumb cake for this as a second value. So I'm going to kind of just mix this mask up a little bit here and make sure I don't stamp over the other flower. And then when I come in down here, I'm going to mask it, stamp away, and then come in like that. I just kind of want a hint of, I don't know what I want it to look like, whether it's a wall or just some kind of design in behind. I'm just going to come in and do that like that. I just don't want these pieces to come over top of any of the petals of the flowers. I want them to stand behind. So I'm just going to come in like that. And here you can see I've got a little bit of what I was talking about, that white shadow that runs around, whereas here I don't. And that's because I had the mask really quite close to the edge. So it still looks just fine, but it's just one of those little details. So what I need to do now is I need to add my piece of gold ribbon. You can use adhesive, you can use glue dots. These strips I have on here came from one of my paper pumpkin kits, and I find them really helpful for doing ribbon. And I'm just going to place it in the middle like that, give it a bit of a push. And I'm going to put my gold foil sprigs on that I cut with the sprig punch, and I've put them on the adhesive sheets so that they turn into stickers. With small things like this, it just makes it easier to stick them down if they are on the adhesive paper. So I'm just going to pop that down like that, and I have the second one here. And it can be just a little bit tricky. And when you peel the paper off, you want to peel in the direction the leaves or the flowers are going, because if you peel it backwards, you can bend or tear, and you want to make sure that you are not doing either of those. And this one's just being a bit difficult to get the backing off. There we go. So I'm just going to peel with instead of against the flow of the flowers. And I'm just going to pop this one down kind of just over top of the greenery there. And I've already dimensionalized the greeting. Again, I stamped it with the Peaceful Moments greeting and used the Everyday Label punch to punch it out. And then I'm going to place this over the middle like this. I'm lining up the happiness with the gold ribbon, and I'm just making sure that I've got it square. There we go. And then I just attach it to the card front, and we are good to go. So again, Stamping with Alice, thank you very much for the inspiration for this card. I've changed it up a little bit. I'm using a slightly different ribbon than she used, and I've added in the little squares with the crumb cake. And I did mine in Petal Pink instead of Blushing Bride, but essentially they are the same card. So thank you so much for watching. I hope I've inspired you to create your own card using masks from a stamp. And let's create together again soon.